All right, Ms. Secor, you're good whenever you're ready. Great. Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody. It is Thursday, October 13th, 2022 at 6:32 p.m. Welcome, everyone, to the Scituate Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. Given Governor Baker's declaration of a public health emergency and the related emergency executive order dated March 12th, 2020, that has been extended until March 31st, 2023. This meeting and committee will continue to meet virtually and be recorded by Scituate Community Television and can be viewed live on Scituate Community Television Facebook Live. The recorded meeting will be available the following day on Comcast Channel 9 and YouTube Scituate Community Television. I am going to go ahead and read our commitment statement. This is a safe, secure space for all people, especially people of color, and for all underrepresented people and communities. This is a space where people can bring up challenges and questions without fear. We will assume best intentions and we will treat one another with politeness and respect at all times. This committee is dedicated to these standards. We want our members and others joining our meetings to feel welcomed and respected. Okay, so with that, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Kate. I will call the roll. Ms. Yassine?
Yes.
Ms. Dre?
Yes.
Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Ms. Cruz?
Yes.
Ms. Risha?
Yes.
Thanks, Celia. And I am a yes. Okay. So Ms. Yassine has distributed, as always, the minutes. It'd be helpful if I could find mine, but anyways, I know she has. I'll get there. Does anyone have any comments? I did go through them. I don't believe I had anything to point out.
Bob had pointed something out to me. Luckily, he emailed me in advance since he's not able to be here tonight. When we were discussing things about town committees, commissions, etc., I had misnamed the Economic Development Commission. I had called it the Economic Development Center. And I know it's not that, but that's what I typed down. So I need to amend that. So that's one thing that's going to be amended. So we will be voting on an amended agenda. Any other amendments that you would like to suggest?
None from me. And I will note the initial agenda that I sent to all of you, I subsequently amended because it said Tuesday as opposed to Thursday. So the agenda that was posted to the website, I reposted per, I think either Kathy Gardner or Lorraine Devon caught it. So just FYI. I don't have anything else.
Okay, then we need to vote on amended minutes from 9/13/22.
Okay, I would like to take up that vote. Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, thank you. So Ms. Yassine,
Yes.
Ms. Dre,
Yes.
Ms. Swope,
Yes.
Ms. Cruz,
Yes.
and Ms. Risha.
Yes.
And I am a yes. Thank you. All right. Liaison reports. Let's start. Maura, if we could get an update from you. I don't think you were on the last meeting, so, and I know you had special town meeting and all that good stuff, so you've got a lot going on.
Well, you're right. You're right. Have to go all the way back to that. Well, special town meeting was a success, I think, in our eyes. Really, we're able to pass all of the articles that were important to us, especially the water treatment plant and the building of that. So that's exciting news. So we'll continue to work with our legislatures to work through that permitting process. to try to accelerate that, because I think many of us do not believe that we have 3 or 4 years to get that done. So we're going to work on that to try to, that's usually what the stopgap is the permitting at the state. So we will be working on that. So that was great. So thank you for all of those of you who have attended. Last meeting that we had, really a lot of just routine issues, nothing overarching or anything that folks, I think, just pretty much wrote. And I'm looking at the agenda for tomorrow, and I mean next Tuesday, and that's a pretty regular meeting, a lot of permits, contracts and things like that. No really large issues that really impact our town significantly. So pretty routine stuff in the past couple of weeks, and we're entering our budgeting season, which is exciting. So new initiatives, any capital requests always come through at this time. I will say that at the last meeting, I believe we appointed the last of the openings on the Cape Verde Sister Committee, which is exciting. So lots of great applicants. It's always hard to choose when you get a lot of great applicants. But what's been really unique about this committee, if those of you have not been watching, and obviously Angela, I think, knows this because she's probably been the most biggest promoter and recruiter, but a lot of Cape Verde folks from outside of Scituate, which is nice, just to kind of see that regional camaraderie to really create this sister city and to really welcome and acknowledge the culture. So very exciting. So I can't wait to see how this committee evolves. So thank you, Angela, for all your outreach. And I think it's really exciting for our town to finally have this.
Yeah, thank you, Mara. Yeah, I watched that last meeting, and I knew the two individuals that applied. So I was happy to see it. Yeah. But I think we have a nice group of folks, different age groups, different, backgrounds, talking to them. Everyone has wonderful ideas, how to, bring events to the town that, will address education and be, geared to children, seniors, and everyone in between. So we're excited.
And so many of the applicants come with such rich history, even though they live outside of Scituate, many of them grew up here or have family here. So it's really nice. So we look forward to that. So thank you. And like I said, Tuesday's meeting does not look like a full agenda. I actually won't be in attendance. I'm out of town. So I'll be there, but certainly we'll catch up when I come back. So that's all I have.
Are there any other, do we know of any other Cape Verde sister cities in Massachusetts?
There's actually a sister city in Boston with Praia. Praia is the capital in the island of, so there is, and they have a sister city in Portugal, in one of the already. So there are existing sister cities. We didn't choose Praia just because, the Santa Catarina area, it's a municipality of 10 small towns. And most of the Cape Verdeans that live in Scituate or lived in Scituate come from those towns. So one of the things that came up in our first meeting was to get a poster made with the island and the towns, and have people put a little dot where their family came from and where they were, or for myself, where I was born. So we'll have the little dots, and I think it's nice to have visuals too, when we do these events, so people can get a sense of what we're talking about when we talk about the various 10 islands, but specifically the island of Fogo, which has the active volcano, is where our sister city will be.
That's great.
Yeah, that's good to know too, because I know when the Irish group gets together, they very much collaborate with the Boston Council as well. So it'll be nice to see you align with them once you get going as well. Yeah.
Excellent. All right, thank you. Ruth, do you want to go next? I know you wanted to, you sent out the note today, for example, about is it the South Shore Unity Council, or is it being run through Hingham's?
Both, kind of. So
Okay.
I sent everybody an email today. Stride had sent this information on to me. There's an event that's hosted by the Hingham Unity Council, but it's kind of being disseminated through the South Shore Unity Council. However, it's being held in Pembroke. It's called Star Power Program. It's a free event. It's something you would have to sign up for. That's why I sent you the link for it. And it's only for people who are either members of South Shore Unity Council partners. And the idea is that it's, or partners, people who are committee members, people who are on boards, people who are doing things. It's not open to the general public, but we would qualify. And it is October 22nd, 1 to 3, Pembroke Public Library in person. But it's a very cool program in that it's understanding the implications of power and how to use this understanding to make positive social change. Because most of us have not been necessarily had a lot of background in being social change agents. And I think this would be a great opportunity to get some background on this and see what other people are doing in our local communities. So
And
that's why I sent that.
interesting that there's a Pembroke guy that's leading this, given their much publicized DEI, disbanding, if you will.
Yeah,
I had the same thought, but maybe it was purposeful.
I think so. Yeah, he's part of that Uplift group. I work with a guy from Pembroke that I think is also a member of that group and really kind of pushes a lot of DEI efforts in Pembroke. And he was crushed when what happened in that community. So
I would, I'm really hoping that some of us decide to be able to go do that. I think it's a great opportunity. I also want to, I probably Jamil's going to talk about this, but Stride's lit, working with Jamil and the schools for the lit conversations. The first one is Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, the 18th at the library. And it's the effects of pandemic and effects on our sense of community. What lessons have we learned? Path forward, pandemic truly over. I'm reading about the different things I got from the literature that I got on it. It sounds fascinating. So again, you can get more information on that, I'm sure, on the library website and the Stride website and possibly other places. And that probably is kind of segueing into Jamil, unless anybody has any other questions for me about Stride.
I was just going to say that there's a lot of upcoming programming. There's the two things that you just mentioned. And then there's the event, I think that's also on the 22nd that Lillian, I know you are going to be heavily involved with, that's being held right in Scituate. Now, of course, I have parents' weekend for my daughter that weekend in New York, so I'm not going to be around, but what are you going to do? Okay.
And what's that event, Tom? I'm sorry.
Lillian, I think you can probably speak to it better than I can. I'm a little limited with where I am right now.
The town is having a disability awareness event at the Scituate High School on the 22nd, 10 to 1. So I was asked by my director to go, representing the senior center. And then also, to bring some information about the transportation program, because it's not just for seniors, but for people under ADA that are under 60 qualify. So basically to speak about how the program is, supports people that have different disabilities.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So I'll be doing that.
And I think there's a number of different groups, right, Lillian? Not just your group, that are all kind of coming together, different committees throughout Scituate. So it sounds like it's gonna be
and also on the South Shore in general, like South Shore Elder Services, a representative from GATRA will be there, someone from PACE, just a bunch of, they have like 20 different entities coming.
excellent. Thank you. All right. Segue, Jamil, if you're able to jump in. If not, that's fine. I see you're on mute.
No, I'm here. I'm just driving.
That's all right. I appreciate you jumping in either way.
Yeah, that's why I don't have the screen. I just left campus not too long ago. We did our short stop, which is our professional development series for staff. And the short stop today was a really powerful one, and it was on how to have engaging conversations about love, inclusion, and trust with caregivers and families and parents and folks like that. So that went really, and we had a nice workshop on that, and we had I guess Dr. Henry was our guest speaker on that, but it went really well. So that happened. Absolutely will co-sign with Ruth with Sharon regarding the upcoming Lake Community Conversations. Looking forward to that. It'll be fantastic as we still navigate these current times with the pandemic. Let's see. I'm not sure. Did we speak about This Is Our House last time? I'm not sure we had finished that by the time we met last time. But if not, the quick version. Yeah. Okay, so we completed all of them. I don't think we had done the ECC iteration of it, which is with our 3-year-olds, 3 through 5-year-olds, and that was a great. It was so fantastic, and we introduced just a conversation about how school is like a house, and spoke about that, and it was just great. The young ones were just fantastic. Let's see, that happened this past Tuesday. All of the elementary schools sent home with the students the opportunity for whoever was interested and their caregivers and parents to sign students up to be a part of the lit teams at all the respective schools, elementary schools. So they're due tomorrow. So tomorrow we're looking forward to seeing all the returning and new energy that'll be connected with the lit teams at each school. So that's awesome. What else? The equity audit is upon us, and it's happening at this point. So families have an opportunity to participate, and students as well have an opportunity to participate. So data has been collected, and now the opportunity, the invitation for folks to volunteer to be a part of focus groups for the equity audit are out, and folks are responding to that. So we'll see how those turn out. I can share that folks have begun to respond. We don't know who, because we're trying to keep it as anonymous as possible. So all I know is that their numbers have begun to come in, and we'll see. The window will close starting on Monday. I think that's my update for now. I don't think I missed anything. I'm looking forward to what happens with our Cape Verde initiatives. Really, really looking forward to seeing how that evolves. So
I can confirm that I did receive the note about the equity audit, given that I have a high school sophomore. So
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Who's running it, and what's the goal and focus of it?
The company that's doing the audit is PCG, and it's Public Consulting Group, and they are executing the audit. And the purpose is to identify areas of strength or areas of growth regarding our district in terms of equity for everyone. And yeah, and so that's it, and that's the purpose behind it. If you know parents and folks that receive the email, this is just a little reminder for folks to fill out the opportunity to volunteer before Monday so that we can do it. We also elected to do the students and families went together so that families were part of the conversation about students' involvement in the equity audit.
There was the email was from Superintendent Burkhead that I received, and
Yes.
it spelled it out. It wasn't a long email, and there were different links in there there was an FAQ on PCG. I think there was a link to the PCG website and so on. So it was, it was very easy to consume, and the links to the signups just brought you to a Google sign-up sheet that was a piece of cake, if you're so inclined.
Yeah. And for folks who, if you're not selected to be a part of a focus group, there'll still be another opportunity through a survey for folks to contribute their insight and perspective. So we want as many perspectives and insights as possible.
Yeah, if I'm not selected, Jamil, I'm just going to reach out to you. Kidding. But anyways, yeah, so that's cool. And again, so the first lit event of the season is, and that's at the library on Tuesday, right, Jamil?
Yes, it is. It's at the library Tuesday evening in I think it's in the lower conference room, like lower level conference room. I believe that's where we're hosting these at. That's what we did last year. Also, folks should know
I
that.
didn't announce the time, Jamil. Do you have the time for that? I didn't announce that part.
I think it's at
6
6:30.
o'clock.
Oh,
No, we go from 6 to 7:15.
Okay.
The other thing that folks should know is that the first segment of season 2 of the Lit podcast has been shared. So folks can check that out. If you haven't subscribed to it yet, you can. It's on all the different podcast platforms. And hopefully it appears on the district app soon as well.
What is that called again, Jamil?
The
Lit podcast.
Okay, Lit podcast.
This one is literally about 2.5 minutes. And it's just sharing that we're going into season 2. Thanks for the support for the foundation of season 1. And tell folks about the equity audit and just a few updates. So that's what's happening there. But we have a couple people who are staff and community folks that will in guests this season, and more students as well. So looking forward to that. Maybe some folks from our SDIC family here will be a guest as well on the podcast.
Okay, cool. Did we, I guess one last question, and I forget, and Ruth, you might remember, I know we were talking about the various student groups at SPS that are involved with like-minded activities, and like last year there were 2 or 3 or 4 groups. Did they all get consolidated in what's called the anti-racism group? Is there just one group now? Does anyone know?
I know the students I've been dealing with call themselves the anti-racism group, but I don't know if there's any others.
So can folks hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, because I know I'm in a bad area where I'm driving. All right, so there is a umbrella organization, and at this point, I think the group is going to go by the ballast, which in shipping terms, the ballast is the part of a boat that keeps it from capsizing, even when it's in troubled water. But so that includes several different organizations that come together weekly just to meet, and they are contributing to some of the efforts of the anti-racism group. So it includes the anti-racism group, Allies Not Bystanders, and 1178 and the Lit group as well.
So you are okay. So anti-racism group, Lit group, 1178.
Yeah, and Allies
Not Bystanders.
Yes. Well, I should say Lit teams.
Lit teams, okay. And then there's the umbrella organization is called the Ballast.
That's unofficial. I think folks love it, but they just haven't officially said, "Hey, we're gonna be that." But that's what it's. I think that.
Okay. All right, that's helpful. Thank you, Jamil.
Yeah, very helpful. Thank you, Jamil.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right. We're actually right on time. We are to public comment, if there is any public comments. Okay. All right. Review of in-flight opportunities and projects. And I did finally get around to updating the Excel spreadsheet the workbook and and I sent it off in a PDF as well. Especially maybe for you, Lillian, who has not seen that before. It might give you a little, hopefully the tabs are pretty self-explanatory. We essentially, take opportunities that we've just teed up over the however long we've been doing this now, and move them to in-flight projects where we have an owner and subgroups, anything less than a quorum typically. And then we've had a handful progress to recommendations that we make to the select board. And then our goals, our 3 goals, which are still intact, are a separate sheet as well, just from the standpoint of just understanding how we put this thing together. So I can share, I guess, just as a guidepost. I do not have multiple screens, so I'm just going to do the best that I can where I am right now. I know it's probably really small right now.
No, it's pretty good.
It's not bad.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm just going to focus right now on the in-flight projects. So, and I'm going to go down to, I think there's 3 that we want to talk about. So this goes all the way back to July of 2021. The various things that we've discussed around Indigenous peoples, so around land acknowledgement, IP Day, and the Scituate Town Seal. Sorry. So tried to go ahead and build out some of the comments. So with regards to this, just to recap, I guess, a little bit, and it's timely, I guess, because we just crossed the 2nd Monday in October with Columbus Day, which is Indigenous Peoples Day in Scituate Public Schools and various other municipalities. So where we are now, we had a subgroup meeting. Angela, Ruth, and myself met last week or the previous week to kind of kick this thing back off a little bit, try to get some momentum. We've had a couple fits and starts getting in front of the select board. We've had some scheduling challenges and so on. So where we are now is we still have the PowerPoint deck, a handful of slides that we had put together that has already been shared with the select board, but we want to have the opportunity to come back in. And Angela and Ruth, keep me honest, did we zero in on November 8th to get in front of the select board? I think that was the date that we discussed.
We had discussed that, but that was not set in stone.
Right.
The fact that we are now 1 week later than what we had planned on, even, I don't know if November 8th is a realistic target because we have not given them that much lead time. It depends how much is already on their docket.
So that's what we're thinking, Maura. And I did for the team, Angela did a really good job kind of summarizing a couple of our paths here, one being just a simple resolution from the select board to achieve our goal, which is to replace Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples Day versus whatever the other paths would be, which most likely would be still getting in front of the select board, but then subsequently a town vote, some type of referendum with a warrant and everything else to get that into town meeting. So Maura, I don't know if you've had any feedback on that.
I haven't had a lot. I mean, I think my understanding of it is a resolution can always be overturned. So, I mean, anything can be
Right.
overturned, but I think it's
That's
more,
right. We've discussed that.
yeah, but it's just a little bit more difficult if it is a town meeting vote. Yeah, I mean, I guess, and if you're getting on the docket again for 11/8, I think it should be firm in what you think is best for the town, right? I don't know, if a resolution can be easily overturned, I don't know. I go back and forth, which is better, it's basically trusting the future, right? Which should be, I mean, usually things are done in good faith, and I haven't seen the boards in this town reverse a lot of previous decisions, honestly. There's been a lot of respect, and I would hope that that would continue. So maybe the resolution is okay. And I know I'm wavering here. I don't have a firm position because I really don't know. I don't know which is the best route.
Mara, what would someone have to request that the board overturn that, or would the board come to that, thought themselves to overturn it?
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, any initiative can be brought up by anybody. It can be brought up by a board member. It can be brought up by the public, right? So it could be either way, really. As far as the future is considered. Are you looking for November 8th for the board to decide which route they want to take? Because if that's the intent, I would just want to make sure that.
I don't think so.
No, okay. So I want to
think,
make sure people are clear.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for everybody, but our initial intent, going all the way back to, let's say, July, when we first wanted to get in front of the select board and just it didn't happen, was more to educate in terms of how we came to this, which I know just me personally, educated myself with what I was taught when I was a kid versus what I've assumed since then to what I've learned over the past few months just through reading what I think is unbiased research. It's very eye-opening.
It is. Yeah, no, I agree.
And I read a handful of articles this week because it was Columbus Day, and there's more and more articles coming out in almost every major newspaper as to why it's controversial.
Yeah. I don't know if you see Celia has her hand raised, Tom, so I don't know if you want to acknowledge Celia. Should we have a comment on this?
Celia, jump in.
Yeah, I
Oh,
just can't tell if you see it.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry for the background noise. I'm on the ferry. I was just curious more. Has the town ever done like a dual approach where the select board goes ahead and follows through with the resolution and then also brings it before town meeting to further codify it? Or is that just too much work and doesn't make, I don't know if that even makes sense.
I don't know the answer to that, to be honest with you. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Just short.
I do know that is, I can't remember which town, but there is a town that did take that process.
They did both.
Select board, yeah, and I'd have to go back over my voluminous notes to know which town that was, but the select board passed it first, and then it was brought to town meeting, and that also passed it.
Which that's a nice way to, that seems, to your point, yeah, that's a nice, Celia, that's a nice way in which to approach it, to kind of just make it a little bit more permanent, I guess is the word. Okay.
I mean, one other thought, and again, I don't really want to, this isn't about taking a shortcut, but if there was a resolution and the select board voted to adopt it, okay, the next select board elections are when?
Well, there's one this November, next April. So next April, May, in that election, there will be, I'm I think one person is up. I think,
Okay.
and there might be Tony's seat that's up, because I think it's,
Yeah, and I don't want to get into individuals, but
no, but I'm trying to think, 'cause it goes 2-1-2, and I'm not up until 2024. And I'm trying to remember if my seat is next to somebody else's. Let me go look while you're talking. But anyway, go ahead. I digress.
so a resolution goes in front of the select board and it's voted in the affirmative to take this, right? In the
Mhm.
meantime, the state of Massachusetts makes this happen. The whole thing becomes a moot point.
True.
So
They haven't done that yet, though, right?
they have
They
not
have
done
not.
that. They have not
Yeah.
done that yet, but I think, Ruth, you know this better than I do. I think Joan Moschino is saying that she wants it taken up in the next session.
She's very hopeful, but I also saw a report, news report, and the news person was not very hopeful, or didn't, in other words, whatever he'd heard, it was negative. And again, no sources cited, but didn't seem like it was going to happen. It's kind of his blow off to it for the Massachusetts. So, I mean, how much does he know? I don't know, but it is something that is not, it's not done till it's done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I read the original language. I haven't seen any amended language, but the original language that I read was, I don't think as strong as folks were really looking for, in my opinion. You know, what the last language I saw at the House that was trying to pass. So I don't know if it's been modified, Ruth. You're probably closer to that than me.
Whatever came out of committee last year, they will reintroduce it. And it'll get a new bill number and it will be the same thing. And I think it's just to acknowledge it. It is not a super strong.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was kind of my take.
Yep.
So 2 seats are open next year, just so everybody knows. 2 seats are open next year. I am a single year. And then, so it's 2023, 2 seats, 24, 1 seat, and 25, 2 seats.
Okay.
Just to clarify, sorry. To make sure I clarified that for you.
All right. Well, I think regardless of whether we want to go, you know, the path of a resolution or go in front of town meeting, I still, I would personally like to push for us to get in front of the select board on that date, November 8th. But again, as more of an education session for the select board themselves and anyone else that tunes into those meetings, to give some insight as to where we're coming from on this, which I think it's fair and balanced, because again, it's hard for me to think any other way, just based on the readings that I've done and the education that I've kind of received over the past year talking about this, which I was ignorant to prior.
Tom, I do believe that we may have one of the students here. We talked about having a student that they have a petition that they had done, and I know there were some questions from our small group. Taylor, are you from the student group, and is this something you'd like to speak to?
Yes, could I please speak?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Taylor McFadden, and I'm representing the 100 Scituate High School students who signed the petition to celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day and not Columbus Day on the second Monday of October. So we also have a statement. So the town of Scituate was built upon the ancestral homeland of the Massachusetts and the Wampanoag Indigenous people, who have lived for over 10,000 years in the southeastern portion of what we now call the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Indigenous people, with their rich and diverse cultures, are worthy of recognition and celebration. In 2021, the Scituate School Board voted to celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day and not Columbus Day on the second Monday of October. We are asking the town of Scituate to do the same. Indigenous Peoples Day offers an opportunity for all of us to recognize the native peoples of this land and to rethink the the story we were taught about the arrival of Columbus. Thank you.
So
Thank you, Taylor. Really appreciate it.
So this looks as though this would be the presentation the students would like to make.
I think
Which
it'd
I'm
be great, but I
100%
think
in favor of.
yeah, I think
Exactly.
it'd be great to bring Taylor in as well, or her group and whoever to, I would say just make sure it's on, Lorraine knows, so it's listed, so we know everybody that's coming in. Oh, hi, Taylor, you turned your camera on. Nice to see you.
Yeah. We also need we will need again the documents in advance, because again, Tom, we're gonna have to send everything back to so not your I believe I still have the document that you referenced. But if you can, Taylor, if you can send me again what the petition was, how many people signed it, and then are there any questions on that petition? I think, Tom, you'd asked about that.
I guess my only question on the petition is, was it the petition from the spring? Because I know that was like right when the school year was kind of winding down. Do you know the answer to that, Taylor, by any chance?
Just a minute, she is
I think
muted. Just let me,
you're
I
unmuted.
need to,
Okay,
I'm trying to get back to where I unmute her. Okay, ask to unmute.
right. I see Cheryl Pace is on and Abby Tondorf, so they may know the answer to this as well.
Okay, I just asked her to unmute.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Taylor.
Actually, a few weeks ago, we reinforced our petition and got even more signatures than in the spring.
Oh, good.
Okay, good.
Yep.
So I can ask my daughter if she signed it.
Yeah.
If you know her, please don't tell her I said that. Okay. I can't resist. I'm sorry. Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much.
So in other words, we would like students, when we'll let students know that when we get our time on the agenda, because it may or may not be November 8th, depending on if there's availability at that time. But yes, we would like you presenting your information, and I'd like in advance the petition, as well as that any, not what you're going to say exactly, but any other written materials, because we will submit that again to the select board.
So I guess Taylor, sorry, or anyone else from the students that are on this call, do you have Ruth's email address?
Yes.
Okay.
We've been in touch.
Awesome.
Is there anybody else who wishes to speak of the students or Ms. Pace? I don't see you, but I'm assuming you could put a hand up or do something if you wish to speak.
No worries.
Okay, if not, we're good.
Okay. Well, thanks again. So we will, reconvene on our side. Maura will be in touch with regards to whether we can make that date work.
Well, who's going to?
It is election day. It's a pretty important day. But
Maura, can you check that for us to see if that's available? Thank you.
Yes, I will. Yeah.
I was surprised the select board was meeting on election day, but maybe that's just me.
And that next week does not work because it's right before the holidays and Tom isn't available. So that's why we would love it if we could do it on the 8th. And if not, we'd have to push into December.
Okay. I'll send a note now. We often meet on election day because it's just right there. It's not like we're interrupting anything that's happening at the high school.
It's true. It's true. By that time, it should be pretty quiet, I would think, but okay, great. All right, anything else from anyone on Indigenous peoples? I know we haven't jumped into the land acknowledgement or seal, but one thing at a time, I guess. Yes, Lily.
Tom, did you say all of the research was already done and slides were put together?
I can send that to you.
Huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. Thank you.
Yep. And if you have any feedback, just let me know.
Okay.
Okay. All right, great. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see. next? Okay, so equitable. Sorry, I have to rearrange my screen right here. Okay. Honestly, I forgot that this had an actual name. That I feel like Kate hasn't gotten enough credit here because she was the first one that brought it up. So we called it, once upon a time, we called it Equitable Communications, which is a very grand way to talk about this. So I wrote an update here that really I just borrowed from a lot of Ruth's notes. That kind of captures a lot of the different things we've talked about. The website, lo and behold, that was a big win that just we kind of stumbled upon literally during our last meeting, where Bob Clark informed us that the website pretty easily, our website provider was able to add Google Translate, which was subsequently communicated by Jim Bedreau to the town through one of the news updates, excuse me, that's made weekly. So that's fantastic. There's, I literally think, over 100 languages that you can translate into. I think, as we've discussed before, there are 11 different languages spoken at Scituate Public Schools. So this was a big win. It's great. The new school website also has that very similar functionality. On the town website, it's located at the bottom of the website. Not ideal, but it's okay. And the school website, which is a new website, which is really cool, is at the top. So just FYI. I still think we don't want to put this entirely in the win column yet, because I still, and I think this is something that a subset of us, you know, myself, Kate, Celia, Elena, have all been involved in this to varying levels. Both town alerts and town mailings are still, work needs to be done for both of those. I mean, the town alert thing is great if you're an English speaker, right? And we've talked about that before. It's very easy to subscribe to committees, town news, and storm updates, and all this great stuff. But I'm pretty sure it just goes out in English, right? So I would think that it would be pretty easy to put in, you know, some type of a checkbox that then has the Google Translator send the town alerts in the other languages, and then the other piece is the town mailings. Same ask for that. Does anyone have anything else to add on this topic? Okay.
Tom, can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Just going to say on that part, since I know Maura brought up like budget season is upon us, do we need to go through an exercise of thinking through like how much it would cost to have like public health notices, for example, that are mailed out, translated or anything like that, if we wanted to act on it? Or I don't know if that's too soon.
I think if we're going to, well, yeah, I mean, let me ask more of that, I guess. You know, as far as if we were to come in front of the select board, we would need to have as we've discussed in the past, a certain level of due diligence, right?
Well, I wonder if Kathy Gardner already has a lot of that information, because she probably handles a lot of the mailings that go out. And I've got to imagine that she has good access to solutions like that from her other colleagues as clerks, who send out the majority of notifications. The email's another thing. We'll have to figure that one out. I think it always makes sense to ask the question, you know, what research has already been done, so you're not all spinning your wheels on something that may have already been researched, but may not necessarily have had the funding. So I'm wondering if we start with Kathy Gardner and also Mike Minichiello, who manages, our internet and our websites, and maybe even Seth knows as well, because he takes part in a lot of those meetings as well with regards to communication. I know the man behind the curtain is there, but Seth may know as well. But I'm wondering if we do a little research that way first, and maybe they already have numbers to incorporate into the ask. A great point, Celia, right? If this is a great DEI initiative, which it is, how much is it going to cost to add into those departments who do those mailings or do those translation services? Like, what does that cost, so we can make sure that it is built in for 2024 and forward.
Okay. All right, we can
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'll follow up with you after, because I had been waiting on following up with Kathy until after the primaries, and now I feel bad because it's before the election. But there were some pending questions on another task around the hybrid town meeting, so we can group them all together so we're not bombarding poor Kathy.
Yep, makes sense. Yeah, so that's a good segue into. So I think this is the last kind of, and you guys have to keep me honest if there's other projects that we're working on right now that would be considered in flight, and we're getting close to the point where it's time to maybe brainstorm and get some other opportunities that we haven't really tackled. And maybe some pieces, maybe some opportunities that have kind of languished a bit because we've been focused on other things. But so back to the town meetings, hybrid, remote, and so forth, as Celia just mentioned. I tried to capture it all in here in this kind of rather long update from September 13th. We've been talking about this now for several meetings. There have been different discussions that we've had with Cohasset. We had a discussion with Seth around the, some of the IT possibilities, venue possibilities, and so on. It does, I think the last time we talked about this, a lot of these votes have been pretty symbolic because the state still doesn't allow for town, municipality oriented governments to meet and vote remote yet. There have been articles in the Boston Globe about this just in the past couple of months. There's a lot of there is some movement on this, but I'm not sure how far we go. I don't want to just let it die, because there has to be a reason why these other towns continue to push, knowing that there's still a state aspect to it.
Well, I think, oh, Tom, can I speak? I just,
my
thought on that is just, it's exactly that, right? It's a statement of support to try to figure out how to resolve this issue in our very parochial form of town government. And, how do we push the envelope as a state to get funding, to figure out the technology piece, to figure out the security of it and the validity of the voting and all of that needs to be done, especially in a day and age where every vote is really scrutinized. So that would be my thing, is that I think a lot of these towns do that just to continue to drive support, to pressure our state leaders to try to come up with a solution, right? And and to help the municipalities achieve this, because they're hearing that desire from, the new generation and the voters that are out there. So that would be my only thought as to why we see a lot of this symbolic type of resolutions, if you will, to do this.
Okay.
And it's also, I think, when you're looking at these towns, I don't know if they're all just straight town meeting formats, or if any of them are representative town meeting, because that is probably, that actually I know is a big difference when you have representative town meeting, because you really only have, if you have 7 districts, you have 7 people voting, right? So you can do that because they're voting on behalf of a larger population.
Have you heard any more about that petition
I have
that was going
not.
around Scituate? Okay.
I have not. I'll ask Karen Canfield. She seemed to be more in touch with that just because it was sort of aligning with her charter review. So let me circle around with her and see what she's heard.
Okay. I think somebody else was trying to say something. Yes, no?
I wanted to see, Thomas,
Yeah.
can I speak?
Yeah.
I think exactly what Maura is saying, and again, I don't have knowledge on this, and I maybe Cohasset people have more information, people who've already done this, because it certainly seems like a very political issue at the state level. And again, my guess would be that people are making these votes so that somebody can say to the state, see, towns want this, you need to work this out. And just because of that, I mean, for us, I think that's worth going forward. Because I do think we are, 100% behind finding a way to be able to do something hybrid for our town meetings.
So that would almost be another resolution, right? That in my mind, that's how that would be presented to town meetings, a resolution to that Scituate, supports a hybrid town meeting or whatever that language is so we can continue to move forward and pursue it and lobby our state legislators to support that. That in my mind is a way in which that resolution process does work.
Okay.
Yeah, I really like that, Maura, because I know from our conversations with Cohasset, for example, that Senator Patrick O'Connor was already supportive, and so to get the select board on the record would be great. And I think for next steps in terms of our research, for the towns that have passed this at town meeting or through their select board, figuring out where they are with their process for their home rule petitions, because now it has to go to the legislature. So we can follow up there and ask, what they've seen and heard as a next step.
Excellent. Yeah, and Celia, that's home rule. That's right.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
All right. Great. Okay. All right. What have I missed? Are there other things that people want to discuss?
I have a question.
Yes.
So the first initiative that the committee really embarked on was visiting all the different departments and outlining steps that we needed to take as a town. And I know everybody has had multiple meetings. Are we at a point yet where a recommendation can come back before the select board to say that that has been concluded and these are the recommendations that we as a DEI committee think need to be taken?
It's a great question. I mean, honestly, we kind of put that to the side a while back. Once we started sinking our teeth into, the commitment statement and the gender neutral bathrooms, and the sister city, and some of the in-flight things we have right now. I mean,
Even if it's just a report to say this is what we uncovered, and I think training was always an issue. So I'm not sure if Bob's completely resolved that. Maybe he has, but again, budget, right? It's budget time again. So it's always good to bring those things to the forefront.
I was going to ask Bob about that tonight, actually.
Okay.
Because I got back into the workbook and I was like, oh yeah, there's training.
Yeah.
Was, the hot button topic early on.
Well, Jamil, you got to take that hat off, dude.
I was going to say, Jamil, you were better. You were better off camera. My brother's a Yankee fan. It's all good.
Okay.
No, it's not good. We battle all the time. Go ahead, Jamil.
You're on mute.
Sorry, Jamil, we're in a co-host there. You should be good now. Unmute yourself.
Oh, okay, all right. See, it was that Yankee bias. Hey, they still in the playoffs. They playing right now. I think they probably just started.
No. They got postponed till tomorrow. Weather.
Oh, so tomorrow's when they'll win. Okay, all right. It'll be all right. And as they progress, I'll have more and more Yankee stuff. So only thing I wanted to mention was that I know that throughout the world of education, and particularly in Massachusetts, K through 12, and in regard to the MECO program, folks, if you follow the news, you know that Dr. Jean McGuire, who is a principal founding member of MECO in Massachusetts, also is an activist for freedom fighting in Massachusetts, while walking her dog was stabbed on Saturday. She's 91. She's in a hospital and is from what I understand, she's stable and stable condition at this point. So just folks are just outpouring of love and support going out to her. So I wanted to share that with you all. I know that we'll send something from our district as well, and I don't know if folks wanted to get in on that or something like that.
I heard about that. I didn't know about the MECO connection.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Okay. More, I might loop back with you on what you asked about the departments and so forth, because yeah, I got to keep us honest on that. So I'm with you. Right.
Okay, great. I was just curious where we were on that.
Yeah.
And I think
Like you
definitely
haven't
people-
all been busy. You've accomplished so much in the last. Has it been 1 year or 2 years yet? I can't even.
It's coming up on 2 years.
Is it really?
In January.
Oh my God,
I was mentally breathing a little hard.
well, you've
Slow
done a
down
lot.
little here.
You should all be proud of
Personally.
everything that you've accomplished.
But I do think it's worthwhile for us to go back, those people who've got minutes, and I'm writing myself a big note because I have a couple of different sets of minutes from those meetings and even recommendations. And I think one of the reasons that we slowed down on them is we realized there's a lot of different things, many of which would need to be developed much further before we took them to a recommendation to the select board. We had things about public, the buildings for the water and just DPW in general being substandard. Is that something we can just say? Well, or, what does that get you? It just kind of could get people excited and upset without actually having a plan. And truthfully, I don't believe that they were looking at addressing it right this minute, and it will go on a list of things. It seems like there are things that are in the works that we may not be super happy with, but we have to be a little careful of putting a major report in front of the select board that then gets everybody more riled up than actually addresses substantive issues.
Right. Well,
We've
maybe
made-
the intermediate step is to take a summary, of that information, and a couple of you and myself, we go in and meet with Jim to understand kind of what's in progress, what isn't. So
Okay.
That would be an intermediate step. And then after that meeting, decide, what we do want to take and inform the board on. So it is it's got full circle, right? Everybody's involved in kind of what's been evaluated. And, Jim has an opportunity to kind of tell you that maybe things that he has in motion already, or it may not, right? So I think I would recommend that as an intermediate step once we're able to kind of summarize where everyone is at because you spent a lot of time on those meetings. So I'd hate to see that information just sit on the side and not, at least have some movement moving forward wherever we can make movement.
I'd definitely be interested in doing it with you, Maura, because I do have notes on things. We need somebody from the
we have all the
Board of Health.
Yep, and we have all the survey Q&As. They're all, still sitting in a document, so we have all that information. I think a lot of what we found was that, obviously there's some departments that are, further up the curve or what have you, when it comes to DEI initiatives, but I also don't think there were any like massive gotchas saying, oh, boom, there it is. Let's jump at this, right? There was a lot of focus, just to be perfectly honest, there was a lot of focus early on the police department, right? So there was a lot of time spent really kind of combing through all that. And Chief Thompson, I don't know him, but Chief Thompson probably did the best job of anyone in answering the survey and gave us a lot of time. I wasn't in those meetings, So it's not to say that there still aren't some things that could be done there, but I don't think there were a lot of things that jumped out that married up to our charge and our goals.
Mhm.
I don't want to speak for everybody. That was just kind of my take, based on reading through all the documentation sent to us.
Well, and I think that information is even good to share, right? Because
Right.
a lot of this committee was born on the presumption by many, not you, right? But on the presumption by many that a lot of folks took the position that we're not doing anything right. So it would be nice to come back and tell the public and tell the board that, yeah, guess what? We are getting these things right. And here are the areas in where we need improvement. I think that would add a lot of value for the public to hear that, as well as for the board to hear that, because you spent a lot of time going through and meeting with everybody.
Yeah.
I think that sounds awesome, Maura. I think we can definitely do that. We need to kind of whip our data into shape to see what we want to present and how we want to present it. And I think
Okay.
getting together on that sounds very good.
Good.
Cool. Does anybody else have anything else that they would like to discuss? Okay. All right. So with that, I would like to draw the meeting to a close. Do I have
May
a
I
second?
announce other business real quick, just to follow up?
Yeah,
from other
sorry.
business last
Sorry.
time? That's okay, 1 minute. I did want to follow up that Jesse Finney from the library had gone in front of the select board, and even without any acknowledgement that we felt that going fine free for the library was a DEI issue, even just a regular presentation, the select board graciously agreed and voted. So the library is now fine free, and hopefully you're on the library list and are getting information about that.
Awesome.
So very pleased that the library has done that, and that again, it will affect a lot of people, many of whom are those who are disproportionately negatively affected by library fines. So again, kudos to Jesse Finney.
That's great.
Future meeting dates, we have November 15th and December 13th as our dates set up. We do need to get more dates kind of coming. I'm assuming more that they don't have them yet, because it's you guys, that's as far as you guys had gone, and we can't set our dates before you guys set your dates.
I'll ask Lorraine. She usually does it around this time. So
Good. Well,
we
if
should
you
just
ask her,
do a
because then
plan.
maybe she'll kind of pull it together, because then
Yeah.
the next meeting, then we could set that up so we could set up our.
I didn't see it on our agenda for this week. Let me look again. Usually it's at the end just to plan,
Yeah.
2023 meeting dates, but I don't see it anywhere. I'm sure it's coming pretty quickly.
Yep. Okay, now, Tom, I'm all set. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so with that, I would like to draw the meeting to a close. Do I have a second?
I'd like to second.
Thank you. All right, so I will call the roll. Ms. Yassine,
Yes.
Ms. Gray,
Yes.
Ms. Swope,
Yes.
Ms. Cruz,
Yes.
Ms. Risha,
Yes.
and I am a yes. So with that, it is 7:40 and the meeting is adjourned.